Do we want to do anything for a holiday this year? A holiday special thing?
I'm trying to think of Christmas stuff. They had those greeting cards, the one with Yoda with the stuff on his back. But that's, yeah. I mean, are we going to talk about a card?
Just go one by one through all the Lucasfilm holiday cards.
Cards, yeah. We could do this. Is the stupidest idea I ever thought of?
Yeah.
Put all four heads together, and we could write our own Christmas carols.
Oh God!
like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but change it and just make up our own Star Wars thing and sing it.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. It's frightening, but not bad.
If we could get like really corny karaoke music to lay down
in the background or something,
like bum bum.
we could write a whole episode like one of those '80s Christmas specials where you're sitting. We're in Dave's in his cabin in the woods, and we stop by with our Christmas carols for him.
Yeah, like a variety special.
Yeah. We got to start writing some songs. I
mean, we'll just pick our favorite characters, and somehow it'll be funnier the more awkward it is. We got to do a Porkins thing.
Oh my God!
Yeah. We just all think it's like just go through Christmas songs, and we'll just like mess around with it and see what we come up with. That's a good idea.
See that?
I remember us, like before a podcast, talking like we often do for far too long, for hours, and then we realized it's 10 o'clock and we have to record 3 shows.
It was either after or before a recording of a regular episode, and we were discussing whether or not we were going to do something for Christmas.
I remember something came up kind of late in the game, maybe around Halloween. I think the idea came up that we were going to do something.
And we decided that we should do this. And was it Chris's idea?
We all brainstormed, talked about it. I think it was my idea. Like everything is on the show.
Chris had said, like almost the way he said it, he almost sounded like he wasn't going to say this idea. He brought up the idea of us writing our own Christmas songs, and that just took off. We immediately knew we were going to do that, and we're going to do something with that idea.
And decided it should be something cheesy, like an 80s thing. Like, and the thing I instantly thought of is like the Saturday Night Live sketch with the global warming Christmas special. And it was Mike Myers played Carl Sagan, and Tom Hanks was Dean Martin. And they had the solid gold dancers. It was really great. And that's the kind of thing that I was thinking of right away. A spoof of those 70s and 80s Christmas specials that were cheesy, and we would do something just as cheesy.
Hello?
Hey, Tim.
Oh, hi, Dave. What's up?
I'm just calling to remind you about my Christmas party tonight. You're still coming, right?
I don't know. I'm not really feeling like a party tonight.
How so?
I'm not sure. I don't think I really have that holiday spirit anymore.
No holiday spirit? That's crazy talk.
I just don't seem to have anything to get excited about at Christmas anymore. Sorry, Dave. I don't think I'll be coming out to the party tonight.
Wait, Tim. What if I find a reason for you to get excited about Christmas again?
How so?
Tell you what, you come to the party tonight and I'll show you.
I don't know.
Trust me, Tim. You can make it my Christmas present. If I don't find you that reason, you can leave. No hard feelings.
Well, okay, I guess, but I'm not sure you'll be able to find anything.
Leave that to me. See you tonight.
All right. See you then.
No more holiday spirit. I've got to find something for Tim to get excited about this year. I better start calling some of my friends.
We knew early on when we were going to do a scripted story that we wanted to do a parody of the 80s Christmas variety specials that we all four of us grew up with. So I did actually a fair amount of research, in a sense that I watched everyone that was available on YouTube specifically, and I started to see two distinct stories repeating themselves. One was someone saves Christmas, usually involving Santa Claus. And the second is someone loses either their faith in Christmas or their love of Christmas, or forget the meaning of Christmas. For some reason they don't like Christmas anymore. And that one really seemed to fit our characters, in a sense, our personas that we've been building up on the show. We didn't have a lot of time to do any of this. I mean, including the writing and the recording and the mixing. We thought of the idea at the end of October. I mean, it may have even been the week of Halloween. So that really gave us just over a month to get everything done, because we wanted to try to have it out a couple weeks before Christmas. You know, if it fell the week of Christmas, that's fine. But we really had wanted to get it out a few weeks before Christmas. So if we wanted to hit that deadline, we had just over a month, like maybe 5 weeks at best, to do all this. And the writing had to be done really quickly. And because of the time constraints, pretty much what you hear in the final episode is the first draft of that script. I mean, we had written it. I had shared stuff with Dave. Dave added to it. Got to the end, read through it, just pulled out pieces that didn't make sense or scenes that were dropped, and then went with that. Because if we were going to do a proper writing of something like this, we wouldn't have gotten done in time. So we just had to say pretty much, we have to go with it because of the time constraints.
That's probably Tim. Sorry, no time to explain. Just follow my lead. Tim!
Hey, Timmy!
Tim!
Hey, guys.
Merry Christmas, Tim. Come on in. Join the party. Here, let me take your coat.
No, that's okay. I don't think I'll be staying very long.
Come on, what kind of talk is that?
Yeah, Tim, what's the matter?
I don't know. I'm just not feeling very Christmassy.
Why not?
I'm not sure. I'm just not excited about the holidays this year.
You know what, Tim? I've been thinking about that. You know what your problem is?
I know. You're still a virgin.
No.
Really, that could be a pretty big problem.
Your problem is all your life, TV, movies, music, family, friends, and everything that you can think of has told you what you should be celebrating at Christmas. You need to celebrate Christmas your way. Celebrate something you love. I remember we recorded it separately, unlike this year, and trying to make it as cheesy as possible. And none of us knew exactly what it was going to sound like until we heard it for the first time when you released it.
When we were recording it, or when I was recording it, part of me was thinking this is going to be a train wreck. I was like, how is this going to work out? Especially not knowing how other people's performances were going to be. I didn't know if mine would match up. I didn't know if theirs were going to match up with mine, vice versa. And on paper, sometimes it's difficult to tell how it's going to be. But part of me was thinking maybe this would work, but part of me was also thinking there's a good chance that this could be a train wreck.
The recording process for that special, it was I think a real leap of faith from the other guys in me, because I knew what I was going to do with those recordings, and I explained to them what they needed to do in on their side, and I explained the best I could to them what I was going to do, but I had never done it. So everything I'm saying is kind of a theory from someone else, what someone else was trying to share online or whatnot. And I had no example to say, hey, remember when we did this, and for them to relate it to. So that was, I think, a huge leap of faith on their part.
You know what, Tim? I've been thinking about that. You know what the problem is? That's not what it says. It says, you know what, Tim? I've been thinking about that. You know what your problem is. Let me try that again. We usually record here at Chris's house, and I wanted to do this, especially because we were singing. I think we're all a little bit self-conscious of singing. But I remember doing it like in the middle of the night after my wife and son had gone to bed, because I didn't want anybody to hear me, and did it at my dining room table, and probably did it like 1,000 times. Like, just because I wanted it to sound just right. And it still didn't sound just right, but it was the best we were going to do.
I remember recording my sessions super, super late at night, so no one else in my house could hear me sing the songs. Because I would sing the karaoke tracks in my ear, so anybody that could hear me would just hear me singing a cappella, which is not something you really want to listen to. So I remember recording that stuff late at night, and even to the point where when I was recording the Poggle the Lesser, I mean, it must have been 3 a.m. at that point, and my voice was starting to go after doing that, because that's trying to do Poggle the Lesser for more than 3 seconds it takes vocal stamina, I think.
I tried to print out the script to the musical things. I couldn't find it, so I'm just going to read it off my iPhone. I still have the email. I couldn't find it on my home email, but I'm sorry, Matt. I was at home in my living room, underwear and t-shirt.
No.
Seriously. Boxers or underwear?
That ruins everything.
What do you mean with everything?
It's Christmas.
They were probably red. I remember doing it, and it was fun. It was fun doing it, fun recording it, fun playing it back and hearing it. And I think I remember calling Dave saying that sucked. Tim's an asshole. Tim's a douchebag. Tim's a pile of shit. Tim's such an asshole. Tim's an asshole. And then one of those you like? I have to admit, it's fun just coming up with shit on the fly and then writing it down and not memorizing it and then reading it and then doing it. I like that.
The Star Wars in Character Christmas Spectacular will return after these messages.
We had talked about that, like, oh, we should have old commercials. Like, it was like a big brainstorming session.
But it ended up serving a great purpose in writing the script, and that was, since the story follows Tim pretty much from person to person, could cut out all that traveling and mingling that he would do to have to get from room to room or person to person or wherever he was. I could just have the scene of, for instance, with Dave, go to a commercial, come back and have the scene with me, and did that throughout the story. It was great tool. It was a great tool for writing that script. Another huge addition, or another huge benefit of adding those commercials, was the script itself is very short. If you pull out all the music and all the commercials, it's probably only like 15 minutes, probably less. Commercials add like a good 5-ish minutes to that, so it extends the story. We didn't want it to be under a half hour. We were hitting that half-hour mark. I think it's actually like 40 minutes, which is still within the range. We definitely didn't want it to be under. We didn't want to go through all this work, and I think we even held off an episode, maybe even 2 episodes. So we didn't want to have a week, even 2-week gap and release a 25-minute episode. So adding 5 minutes of stuff to kind of laugh at, or at least add a nostalgia factor to it, really helped. That really helped the episode as a whole.
What's the longest lasting battery you can buy? I'm getting a surpriser! New Energizer!
I remember wondering if we were going to alienate people from Australia.
I remember we used that as a segment, or we talked about that on one of the episodes, and I don't remember which episode it was. So I thought that was really funny, that was sort of a callback for people that listen to our show. They would have gotten that.
No life forms here. Wampa!
Kenner Wampa commercial, that was like the first real conversation we ever had about the Kenner toy commercials. And it was from our Wampa episode, which is really early on. I think it's like in the early teens, that episode. And we talked at pretty good length of what our opinions were of that commercial. Most of them pretty negative, when I remember.
That one's the best one, I think, because we talked about that on the show. And I remember specifically talking about that because that one always pissed me off. I talked about those commercials a lot on the show, that it would make me angry that those kids would play with the toys wrong.
I think Dave was the one who maybe brought that one up or heard about it, the whole Wampa, Wampa, Wampa. It's him. I hear him saying it, not the kid in the commercial saying it.
You may enter a galaxy far, far away. R2-D2. With all your favorite Star Wars heroes.
I love those things. I love those things. I was actually talking with someone about that the other day, about how delicious those things were.
I don't remember that one at all. Oh, when you asked earlier, you were like, we got flavors?
Chocolate, vanilla, and peanut butter.
I was over here thinking, like, you can taste Leia, you can taste Lando, you can taste Han. Not knowing, you meant...
From Kenner's Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back collection, it's Tauntaun.
The Tauntaun commercial, that was in our conversation about the Wampa, so another callback to an early episode.
I forgot that one. I love Tauntaun though. The toy had the little hole that had the little slit in it. I loved it.
I'd like an Atari 2600 system, please, and everything that goes with it. Everything? You sure want everything? I want everything.
What I really wanted to do for the Atari commercial was to find an old Star Wars Atari game commercial, like the Jedi Arena or the Empire Strikes Back one, or even the awful arcade version they put out even after all those. But I could find the commercials, but the sound was just terrible, and there were more to see than to hear, and you can't obviously see it in that special. So I found another Atari commercial with good audio, and this one was pretty cool because I thought I knew Atari well, but I had no idea half of the shit they were talking about.
I need another leg.
It's Kenner's new Star Wars Droid Factory.
That was one toy that I thought was kind of stupid because I didn't want to build. That's Matt's favorite, but I think that's kind of dumb because I didn't want to have to build the toys. I just wanted to play with them.
The Kenner Droid Factory. That was the toy I had always wanted as a kid and never got. And then we had filmed a web series. Like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was about making a fan film. It was called Fan Film the Series, making a Star Wars fan film. And one of the ideas in that movie was that we were going to explain why this toy existed. We were going to film a droid factory scene, and I had finally bought one on eBay.
I think that toy sucks. It was the worst toy ever made. Whoever wanted it and owned it should be shot.
And I'm ashamed to say, I know it's somewhere in this room, but I don't know where. You think after wanting it for 30 years, I'd be at my fingertips, but it's not. But it is in this room. So somewhere in this room, there is a Kenner Droid Factory, I am happy to say.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Here you are.
Oh.
Say, what is that thing?
It's my trapper for me.
It sure is a lot neater than this.
When you went to school, you had to have that. Because they had all kind of like covers and like people and on it. And
I remember seeing the commercial when we were little and begging my mother to get a Trapper Keeper because all the cool kids were going to have a Trapper Keeper. And then hearing that on the show brought it all back.
Are these your drugs?
Look, Dad, it's
Where
not...
did you get it?
Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
That's one of the most famous commercials ever. And been parodied a million times. Yes. So it's good to have it on there.
Oh, shit. Did you see there's a new commercial about cereal, I think, and it's the same kind of style. Who taught you about this? You, Dad! I learned from much.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese! Yeah. I learned from watching, you're doing this? Yeah, I remember that.
Where'd you learn to do this?
From you, Dad! Yes! Mac and cheese.
Influential commercial.
Yeah, it's everyone knows it. He was born around that
stop
time.
people from doing drugs, but it spawned lots of commercials.
In the not-so-distant future on a planet called Earth, it's Underoos.
Star Wars Boba Fett is here. That means Darth Vader's always near.
You really have to see that commercial in all its glory because there's a part where you hear R2-D2 make kind of like a brrrr. But when he does it, the dancer makes like this movement, so it makes it look like a fart.
And R2-D2 just makes me smile.
We all had those. I'm so pissed that they don't make them. Like I mean, there is underwear now that has a little S on it or something. Fortress of Solitude.
What are you wearing?
Boxers.
Oh God!
I did specific search for that commercial after I found it to find the best audio quality. I think like after the third version or so I found it, I was worried that YouTube was going to flag, this middle-aged man viewing these kids dancing around in their underwear video over and over again. So I finally just picked one, for pretty much fear of my own safety and just went with that one.
It's beginning to sound a lot like Zero. Listen to him go. What about Solarine? what does it even mean? And sometimes he drops by to say hello. Hello there. It's beginning to...
David said during this process that he enjoys singing and he wanted to do multiple songs. He just never mentioned that he's a really fucking good singer. So when I heard that recording, like, oh, this is great. We're going to have Dave's songs and we'll have all the other songs.
I heard it once and I forget. Who sang that one?
That was, I think Dave sang that one, and Dave went into full-on Dean Martin mode on that one, which I thought that was a nice touch.
That, when I was writing the songs that I wrote, I tried to keep some semblance of the original Christmas song in my song. So it's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas. All I had to change was one word in that first sentence, and then from there on out, change things. But I did that one mainly because I hate him so much, and figured if any of our listeners would hear me, of all people, singing that, they would appreciate that. For people that really, really are fans of our show.
We're going to be late.
Baby, there's sand outside.
It's going to be great.
Baby, there's sand outside.
I love that song, and I think I would love that song even if I had nothing to do with the song or the special. It's just the idea was so funny, and I'm comfortable saying that because it wasn't just my idea. It was one that came from the early brainstorming session that everyone pitched in pieces to. I just happened to be fortunate enough to be the one that recorded the song.
Can we have Queen Amidala and Anakin Skywalker singing "Baby It's Cold Outside"? When baby is cold outside.
I really must go, Anakin.
Having probably the most energetic music of all the songs we did, and having these two idiots just like, dang.
That was good. That was good because you did the monotone and she did the monotone. It was like, who can do the best monotone?
I like when your lovely wife gets involved in this kind of stuff. She's not involved enough, I think. Especially in the Grady's.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say in the bedroom.
No.
Just the whole idea of those two being in the special alone was great. So even though, like I said, even though I was fortunate enough to be the one that performed it, even if I wasn't, that probably still might be my favorite song of the whole thing.
I'll be home for Life Day. Oh, how I do miss.
That one, I had no fucking idea what Dave was trying to do with that song until I got all the pieces.
That's one of those ones that's just like on paper didn't seem like it was going to work, and then when you finally hear it, it was just like gold.
So this one, it was like the original idea was that it was just going to be Wookiee sounds, which would be funny for a few seconds if it was like that. There's like that barking dogs that they do jingle bells. It's like dogs barking. People love that shit. I don't know why. So it was kind of like along those lines, but then that's only funny for a few seconds. So then the translations came in, and I did my best Anthony Daniels, which was awful.
All right, Matt, here it goes. Worst C-3PO impression ever. I'll be home for Life Day, if the time permits.
So he sent that first. So I get the C-3PO clips, and I'm listening to them, and it's like, okay, I don't get any of that.
But you were able to tweak it, add a robotic thing to it, raise the pitch, and it sounded just like him.
Finally put that together, played it through, and finally I was like, oh, that's okay, now that's really funny. I had no fucking idea what he was doing, but now that I hear it, it's funny.
That was the first time. I don't generally curse or say off-color things.
I think you do.
There's somebody on the show.
When is Mike on you?
Yeah, there's somebody on the show that takes care of most of that.
Man.
But I remember there's a line in that song where I say something about tits.
And Marla's hairy tits.
When I do stuff like that and it's recorded, I feel bad.
That was funny. I remember that a little bit.
Oh no.
Because now, was that after we saw we did that episode of that holiday special or no?
Yeah.
I remember that one now.
I fucking love Wilro Hood. He's the fucking man. If he can't save those contacts, then no one fucking can. Oh,
I was waiting for that one because we knew there was going to be a Wilro Hood song, and we thought it was going to be like a Run Run Rudolph parody, but Run Run Wilro.
That was one I remember it morphed from different things. I remember Matt talking about, I think it was going to be Run Run Wilro.
That was not the original idea for my song, my solo song, whatever you want to call it. I was going to do Run Run Wilro, which is very difficult to say, even more difficult to sing. And it's in a, I already can't sing, which I probably am going to say 100 times during this interview. So that song is in a, not only can I not sing, that's in a key that my throat does not recognize apparently. Because it was, I did a recording of it. There's so many problems with it. One, the song was horrible. It was about pretty much him and ice cream. And it's like, okay, yeah, the ice cream joke is funny once, but a 2-minute song of it, that's just, it went nowhere.
Of all the guys I'm best in, you're the one that's hardly seen. Run, run, we'll row, and don't forget to grab the ice cream.
So the song was bad, performance was awful. It wasn't good all around. I was like, I gotta think of another song. On the Wilro Hood episode, I had said the phrase, I fucking love Wilro Hood, and that kind of has stuck with me even now, even up to, that was episode like 35. We're up to 110, 111 now. And that still is stuck with me. A lot of people reminded me I said that, which is fine. I actually, it's funny. I say it probably more than anyone else. So when I had thought of saying I fucking love Wilro Hood at the chorus, like everything else, this is like one of those weird serendipitous moments where everything fell into place. It's like the first stanza almost immediately popped into my head about his actual scene in the movie. Then the second one was about some of the shit we said about him on the episode. And then just do the chorus over and over again. I mean, how many Christmas carols have, you know, the F word in it a dozen times? Mine does, which is, I'm very proud of.
There's such joy in your voice when you're singing that song.
That was fantastic, because you're saying the word fuck.
Have a little chess cube, a smaller made of clay. And now that I've refound you, a chess cube I will play. Oh, chess cube, chess cube, chess cube, your smaller made of clay. Chess cube, chess cube, chess cube, a chess cube I will play.
That's the first one that any of us heard, because you recorded that early, like really early.
That was kind of brought up in our brainstorming session, but I used that idea to demonstrate to everyone like the limits we could do. As long as we don't do anything more complicated to mix than this, we should be fine with getting everything on time.
That's one that I would have had a very difficult time singing. That is such a quick, fast song. To have to try to work those lyrics into that quick of a song is a testament to perseverance. I'm sure when Matt recorded that, he probably had to do about 50 takes to get through that one.
So singing it was a nightmare because I hate singing. I hate listening to myself singing. So it was so freaking hard to edit.
And I remember getting, you sent in an email, and I remember getting it, and Chris got it at the same time, and hearing it and being A, amazed that it went with the music, B, thought the impression was good. I know that you don't, but I think it's pretty good.
The voices are not good. I figure, I guess when I finally did the recording of those characters, I thought if I can't do a good impression, I'll just do a really fucking bad one and try to make it, you know, funny bad instead of trying to sound like the characters. Because Watto, that doesn't sound anything like Watto. Jack Porkins is the atypical fat guy voice, and Rick Olay is just a fucking idiot.
There was sound effects in there. There was like the sound of the dice hitting the floor. It was like several layers of like a professional sounding song. And I remember talking to Chris on the phone and being kind of daunted by it, because we were like, did you hear what Matt said?
Cutting, pasting, printing to make that.
Cut, paste, print. We were both amazed at how, good, yeah, at the production level of it. And I remember us talking to each other, and that was like the first thing we heard. And we were like, what are we going to do? But then once we started writing the songs, at least I feel like once I started writing them, and I did the last 2 years with the songs, I wrote it and rewrote it and sat on it for days and days and days. I mean, they're stupid song parodies. Like Adam Sandler doesn't spend as much time on his songs.
Weird Al, just doing
Yeah, and it's like because you sit on it forever and ever and ever, it ends up feeling more comfortable. I don't know how songwriters work because we're not songwriters, but it made it easier to stomach, I think.
Hey, cutie.
What?
She said, hey, cutie.
Oh, hey.
What's your name, sweetheart?
Me? I'm Tim. Wait, aren't you...
We're the Tonica sisters.
I listen to that sometimes late at night. Nice to meet you. When I'm alone. And one hand's like Vaseline and oil.
Vaseline and oil in case one
dries up.
Oh, that I'm glad I didn't have anything to do with other than writing it, because I would never say any of those things that those poor girls had to say.
But you'd write them.
Yeah, I write it.
I've written stuff with Dave before, or Dave has written things and sent them to us, and there's always, when he makes a notation, it's always like, yeah, I think it might be funny if, or maybe we could try. It's always a suggestion. It's not that it has to be this way. When I got this scene, it had said the Tonica sisters speak with a southern accent, which is odd for Dave because it's usually never that specific. But it's like, okay, so it's kind of in the back of my head when I'm reading the scene and I'm wondering why, and then I get to that line.
We have a song. Do you want to hear it?
I would love to.
Well, okay. Oh, come on my face, y'all.
It's dirty. It's really dirty. Like, I'm ashamed. And I asked you if you thought that your wife and your sister would do it, and at first you said no.
So when we got to recording that scene, we needed 2 female voices, and I had told my wife about the scene pretty much right when I got it, and told her the whole scene. And when I got to that part, she's like, "I'm not gonna do that."
But they, I guess, eventually, for whatever reason, maybe
they're drinking
alcohol induced, but they ended up doing it, and I'm glad they did because it's short and sweet, but it's really funny, and then it leads into my awful Bill Cosby impression. But I that's another thing I felt guilty about, but I was glad that I could just write it and push it away and say, do it if you want. And then it came off great, I thought, but I was just like, still felt bad.
'Twas the night before Christmas in Suffragette City when I recalled Zet Jukasa. Oh, what a pity.
The clone troopers told Bail Organa to stop. Tiny Jet held his saber like a huge pudding pop.
Fantastic, because from episode 1 on, you could do the David Bowie and Dave could do the Cosby, and that kept on going, and it was a fantastic. Finally, there's a reason to do those impressions.
That was supposed to be different. That was supposed to be a lot different.
That was supposed to be a direct parody or homage, whatever you want to call it, to Bing Crosby and David Bowie, that little drummer boy scene.
And this one. This is my son's favorite. Do you know this one?
Oh, I do indeed. It's a lovely thing.
Oh, I know, Bill. Like this one here.
Let me see that. Oh, I love this poem.
The problem with that was that my David Bowie voice impression is already not good. It barely, if at all, sounds like David Bowie. My singing impression is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I mean, one, which I can't say enough, is I can't sing, and I certainly can't sing like David Bowie.
I don't know if it would have worked better either way, but I remember you sending me an email or a text saying, this just isn't going to work. And we're like, well, let's try something else. And like that day, between the two of us, we wrote this poem to the night before Christmas, and it came out better, I thought.
So we had recorded the poem, gave me another opportunity to do layers of sounds with the music and the sound effects, and it ended up being a way better piece for those characters than the song would have been. And the song was okay, but this was better. This was a lot better.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Han Solo.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with ship's Kessel running and TIE fighters gunning. Hey kids, you're all clear. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
That was easy to do because they didn't have to sing. And I hope Like I don't know, like I don't know how songwriters or even real joke writers work, but you hope that like someone's seeing the irony in what you came up with. That it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, and this guy can barely stay awake for the song.
That is probably my favorite part of the whole process of doing this, and it's because of, and it's only something me, Dave, and his son have heard. Because what you hear on that special is the final. That's what he sent me. He did it. It's a live recording. It's not even really a mix. He didn't record separate things and mix them together.
Yeah, I said it. That's the one thing I did, and I didn't mind doing it with my son because there was no profanity in it. There may have been something off color in there, but it was okay for him. And actually, without him, I don't know that I tried to do it by myself because it was playing the sound clip through my headphones, singing. And I had the soundboard open because I wanted there to be sound effects punctuating some of the jokes. And I couldn't do it all by myself. And he and I rehearsed it. And he actually really helped out with that song. So that's my then 10-year-old son and me doing that.
As you can imagine, there was many takes of it. And every time there was a mess up or a stoppage, Dave would say something to his son, and his son would answer with only a sound clip.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Okay.
I thought you were supposed to play it there.
No, it's after this one. All right, we'll try it again. All right, you ready?
I got a bad feeling about this.
This is going to be the one. Tell Matt this is going to be the one.
It's gonna be the one, Matt.
Apologize to Matt for messing up over and over again.
Ow!
Stop it.
It is my favorite part of that whole recording is as the sound drops, his son's playing as an answer to Dave. It's great. The son is funny. It's funnier than Dave.
On the big Death Star, there was a stormtrooper that we thought would go far, but he got lured on a ship by a boy farmer that knocked his ass out and stole his armor. It's TK421. It's TK421.
That was a wonderful idea for someone that hates to fucking sing.
That was good too because we had never. I don't think I heard that until we heard the show.
That was actually because I had to do that because it was a fuck up on my part. When I had written out the script, I had a list of the songs and who was singing a song. And when I got to the script, when I had everyone's recordings, was mixing it. If you were to look at the script, it's still in it. There's no sense in changing it. It's all said and done. But it says like commercial break ends. And then there's Chris's song, Chris's specific song, Rita the Stupidest Bounty Hunter. Then you get some dialogue lines with Chris and Tim. Then it says Chris's song, Rita the Stupidest Bounty Hunter. Like shit. So that means we're short one song. I felt it was up to me to come up with the song, and I thought I can't sing another song. I cannot sing. Apart from all of this, all the work, and now we're completely out of time. I had gotten a bad cold, and my throat just wouldn't carry. Even if I could carry a tune, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And so it was like just the worst case scenario. So I thought, what could I do where I wouldn't have to sing? My first thought was Vader, because Vader, you do the whole modulation and the breathing sound. It might be funny if he spoke through a song. It's like, yeah, it's good, but we haven't really dealt with Vader on the show. And at this point, without even talking about it, we managed to only sing and talk about characters we had done on the show. So I started going through the episodes, saw the three troopers, and I don't know, I really don't honestly know when I decided or even had the idea to put the three troopers to the Little Saint Nick song, but it worked really well for several reasons. One, there's 3 stanzas in it. And then there was the background harmony, but since the main character was going to speak the song, the other 3 could be really bad, and I was really bad on purpose, and I'm just really bad singer, so that took a lot of pressure off of it. I did that song, really, really quickly. It actually came out pretty good with the voice modulation, tried to make it sound like the Stormtrooper communicators. I liked the result. It was good enough for what we were doing and for the time constraints we had.
Greedo walked in the cantina, thought it could capture Han, take him back to Jabba. after he was frozen.
Now that was simply amazing. Whoever wrote that, fucking Emmy, Oscar, and Tony.
Not a Grammy. He goes for all the non-music ones. Well, Tony's in music.
Tony's musical.
That's Chris being Chris. You know, he funny, but at the same time very tone deaf.
With everything else that was going on, Hurricane Sandy had rolled through the Northeast, and Chris lost power for like at least a week, I think a couple weeks.
And I remember writing that song in the dark, in the dark upstairs with my iPhone light on, and I wrote that song in darkness. I felt like Benjamin Franklin.
With your iPhone lighting the way.
But it was dark though. It was dark.
I like talking to Chris because he writes a song and then and I guess we all do this. I know I do it, but he pores over it for weeks. He'll be like, my song sucks. I wrote my song. You want to hear my song? All right, I'll hear it. I don't want you to hear it. Well, I'm going to hear it eventually. It sucks. You know, you guys you're so much better.
You guys are.
My song. You want to hear it? And I'll hear it. And then I'll go, oh, that's funny. No, it's not. It sucks. So it's funny dealing with Chris. Chris is a very temperamental ego. He's a prima donna.
I get it now. I understand now. Music, Star Wars, and Friends. That's what I love, and that's what it should be all about. Christmas time. It's time for fun for everyone, no matter what you do or what you love. As long as you're happy and you make others happy, that's all you can hope for, and that's all you need to do.
Now you get it?
I do. I really do. Now, check this one out.
When I got to the end of the script, I realized right then that I had to wrap this whole thing up somehow with having no real idea or intention of what I was going to do for the story. So I ended up just kind of typing out Tim's speech as the summary of why he has his Christmas spirit back and kind of recapping what the, I guess, message in a sense to the story was, even though I didn't know that till we wrote that speech. So it ended up being the longest part, or the longest bit of dialogue in the whole thing. And I sent the script out, and I didn't really say anything to Tim about it ahead of time, but I did think, I was like, that's a lot of, that's asking a lot of somebody without warning them. And I kind of felt bad, but I didn't unintentionally avoid telling him about it. Just, again, we had no time and we had so much to do. So it was pretty, I was going to say in the back of my mind, but it was more probably in the forefront. Is Tim going to be able to do that? I knew he had the talent to do it because we had done other kinds of stuff like this before, but I was like, it's kind of, like I said, asking a lot of someone to do.
Tim is a great actor, and if you listen to our show, that's a good example. The April Fool's episodes.
Dave sat here raving and ranted about how great it was, and I'm sitting there going, huh?
So when I had gotten his recording, immediately played it, got to the part, and just wondering what I was going to hear, and just completely blown away. Not only was it, what I expected, it was beyond what I expected.
And when he did that in the thing, I remember hearing it for the first time when he heard it, and I was like, wasn't tearing up, but he really, really like delivered there. Like he had emotion in his voice, and he really hammered it home. I was shocked at how great he was.
There's way more added to it through delivery than what I had written. I kind of just wrote it as a summary and an ending. Well, he ended up putting, a bit of emotion behind it, certainly excitement behind it. He really added a lot to that line, which was mainly just a nice way to tie everything together. He ended up putting a message in the story through his performance. It was awesome.
Christmas time. It's time for fun for everyone, no matter what you do or what you love. As long as you're happy and you make others happy, that's all you can hope for, and that's all you need to do.
Now you get it?
I do. I really do.
I think it was terrible. I do. I really do.
No.
It was good.
Tim's great.
It was good.
Finis Valorum. Finis Valorum. Finis Valorum. Cade Muftak, Watto on Frita. Finis Valorum.
Tim song.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of something to say.
I'm not very good at writing lyrics, so the Valorum song that I sang, I'm good at concepts, and I figured it would be funny to take a Christmas song that isn't necessarily thought of as it wasn't an English language Christmas song, and just take Star Wars names and put it in there so it would sound foreign, no matter who was listening to it. That way I didn't have to think too much about what I was actually writing. I just put names.
What I remember most about that song is that early on, when we started writing the songs, Dave and I were pretty much in constant contact, and we figured out right away it was going to be very difficult to write entire songs. So we figured we'd write like maybe 2 good stanzas and do a chorus a couple times rather than writing out the whole song. Since it was just something Dave and I kind of determined, we never really had a discussion with everyone about it, including Tim. So Tim didn't know that was the direction we were going. And Tim ended up writing lines for the entire song. And the song is like a 5-minute song. So I heard the song, and, not only was it different than the others, which is fine, it was long, and the length of it was just going to stand out like a sore thumb. So I ended up chopping, I think, more than half the song.
Fendi's Valorum, Jar Jar Biggs and Salacious Crumb. Fendi's Valorum. Fendi's Valorum. Fendi's Valorum. Zero Shakti and Carlos Raikan.
Wow, I thought that was the whole song, and I thought it was long.
I didn't even remember that. I didn't even notice that. I probably still have my handwritten lyrics, like, Klaatu, blah, 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 Niktu, and I think I put some Ewok names in there. I don't even remember if things were edited out of that.
On the 4th day of Christmas, the Force revealed to me 4 quotes from Zero,
3 shooting Greedos,
2 new Will Hoods,
and the movies made by Disney.
That was funny because I would just sit there, and I think I just sat there with the whole song playing. So I just had my lines. So I would just sit there and just wait for my time to come around and go, whatever my line was, 8 shiny reindeer, and then I'd just sit there and wait for it to come back around.
That was another technical achievement by you, because I remember Chris and I talking back and forth on the phone, like, how is he gonna do this? Because we're in 3 different states, recording in 3 different pieces of equipment, and it was layered, so it sounded like we were all standing there like Band-Aid, singing it together.
The 12 Days of Christmas parody, which we've been calling the 12 Days of SWICmas for whatever reason, was probably the most difficult one to do and the one we had the most problems with, because most of us, including myself, didn't realize when you get to your line in the song, it's performed one way, and then when you get to the repeat part of it, it's, for the most part, they're sung a different way. Some of them are the same, but most of them are different. So we all recorded the initial one, and we're done. Then I started mixing it, and it's like, something doesn't fit right. And it wasn't until I heard an actual recording of 12 Days of Christmas that I realized that all of those are the second time around are performed differently. So I had to contact everyone. I had to contact Tim. Tim got lucky. He did the first one, so he was done. But I had to do mine again. Chris had to do his again. Dave had to do his. I think I had to do like 2 of my other voice characters on there. I think Christy had to do her Amidala one again. That was the hardest one to do and took the longest. But it was also probably the most fun because it was so, I learned a lot on that one. So it was a huge learning process, but it was our biggest task. And rightfully so, because it's our grand finale song. So it was going to be elaborate.
I remember that one.
When he does his impression.
You know what's probably?
I ain't going back and playing.
It's probably what my problem is. I hear that shit all the time with him.
It all
with him, it all blends together. It just sounds like a Thursday.
Do not try this at home. It is, I mean, is funny to do for 3 seconds, but to stretch it into a 2.5 minute song or something.
That was great. That was actually, other than the final speech, that was Tim's shining moment because he did it for so long and he was running out of gas and you could hear him struggling through the end. That was good. That was a good, like, after the credits kind of, almost like an Easter egg kind of like wrap up segment because he likes to do that and we encouraged him to do it, but then I think he was sorry that he was doing it about 3/4 of the way through.
I can't do it. I am jealous that I can't do that pop. He does like a snap kind of thing to his. It's like, yeah.
I can't.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's all on camera. I can't do it.
The initial idea, I wanted to have Poggle and Watt Tambor do it as almost like a duet, like they were singing together.
He was going to do the Poggle the Lesser thing, and then he also recorded a track of Watt Tambor. And I ended up taking that out. One reason was that we didn't discuss Watt Tambor as a character yet. And he's done the impression a couple times, but it's not near as recognizable as Poggle the Lesser. So you didn't really know it was Watt Tambor. It's not like we did an introduction like, now Poggle the Lesser and Watt Tambor. So I took that out that was like the initial reason to see what it sounded like. When I took that out and just played the Poggle one, I was like, oh my God, this is so much better anyway. So that really worked out. So even though I had tried it because of one reason, it ended up making the song so much better. Having Poggle the Lesser do it was so much funnier than the mixing the two together.
But the final product, I think, was funnier. We'll have to work Watt Tambor into something in the future.
By the time I got to posting the episode, I had listened to it so many times that I didn't know if it was good, I didn't know if it was bad. All I really knew is that it was done. I mean, I had listened to it so much. I did the final mix down, I uploaded the file, typed up the description, put in the graphics, and I even remember now talking about it. Like, the second I hit post, I thought, we just made a huge mistake.
It's probably one of those things, you probably felt this more than any of the four of us. One of those things where, like, maybe you feel like you bit off more than you could chew, and people like to hear us tell stupid jokes and stories about characters that only real true Star Wars fans know about. So maybe doing this was something they didn't want to hear.
It was one of the biggest feelings of regret I think I've ever felt. And I had posted it like really late at night because that's when I had finished it. I wasn't like actively trying to sneak it in or anything. So there was no immediate reaction. So I just kind of went to bed tired, just wishing I hadn't done it. I'm really surprised I didn't go back and take it down. And I think I didn't take it down because of all the work everyone else did, because that would have been a shitty thing to do, to go through all that and then back out at the last minute. When the next morning came, I couldn't help myself. I immediately checked Facebook and I could not believe some of the immediate reactions we got. It was crazy. And people were not just positive, but like really positive, really excited about what they had heard. I mean, I had woken up to people saying, I'm listening to it for the third time. I'm seeing shares. We don't see, at the time we had a very small Facebook following, but we had a large amount of shares on this post. It was crazy. So I started to follow the shares, and they're on huge Star Wars community pages. It's not at all what I expected. I was happy. I was extremely happy. I think I immediately texted Chris and Dave but it's not what I expected, and I was definitely relieved. I went from, regret to relief after one night's sleep.
When we started to get positive feedback and encouragement from people, and a lot of the people often give us encouragement, it made it feel like we hadn't made a mistake, I guess, because I don't know if you felt that way. Like, there are some people that I know I feel this way about some things. Like, you don't want people to start taking themselves too seriously, especially when it's something stupid. Like, not that Star Wars is stupid or our podcast is stupid, but it's frivolous, and it's not something that you need to be taking yourself too seriously about. I mean, even doing interviews like this, but people like us and they want to hear stuff, so it's like for those people only. Yeah. And I kind of felt it would be that way for the people that really, really like our show. They would like it. They would appreciate it. And if people didn't want to hear it, they just don't download it, and they can listen to us next week talk about, whomever, Lama Su or something like that. Like they want to hear that stuff. They want to hear Chris play his soundboards, and they want to hear us make fun of Tim about how boring the backstory is or something like that, like the regular episode. So I guess there's a fear of alienation, but when people liked it, it instantly went away, and people were nothing but happy. We didn't get any things like, you guys should stick to what you do best, or you guys should stick to stuff and stuff trying to be so funny. It's like, we're trying something new, and people appreciate it. And I know I would appreciate somebody kind of sticking their neck out like that if they did that, and that was a show that I enjoyed.
I think my head got a little bit bigger. I think.
And you got a huge head.
I do, and I think once we hear the input, I'm still amazed that people like us.
And there are people that claim it's going to be their holiday tradition, which is nice. It'd be nice for someone a Star Wars fan to be playing this for people, 15 years down the road. It would be to have like this little audio piece. It'd be kind of neat if it turns into something viral. Like, if the show ever ends, to have something that keeps going, like Star Wars fans keep talking about, like 50 years from now, like, hey, you guys got to listen to this.
I thought it was going to be something, just different that we did. We tried something new, and that was going to be it. But people gave us some fantastic feedback on it, and I was really, really, at that point, really, really proud of what we did.
We've been like watching comedy our whole lives. Like, Matt and I are big British comedy fans, and Chris and I are big Saturday Night Live fans, and there's Canadian comedy and all this stuff. And I've always been interested in the process of comedy. And not that what we're doing is anything near any of those things, or is barely comedy at all, but it was fun for a few weeks to almost pretend like you're a comedy writer and write songs and be creative, because we all have regular lives. We're not professional entertainers by any means. So it's a creative outlet for all of us. And it was fun to do that. I think I appreciated that the most. And if maybe you come up with a fun rhyme for something, and for that day, that was like a very tiny victory in your life. And that was a fun thing to do.
I think we pretty much knew once we saw people actually enjoyed the special that we were going to do this again, like our April Fool's special. Once we saw people enjoyed that we had done that, we said, okay, we kind of need to make this an annual thing. And that's how it was. Once we saw the reaction and we saw that people actually enjoyed it and that we could do something different and people would still listen, we're like, yeah, we definitely need to do at least one more for 2013.
Well, we kind of set the bar pretty high, I think, last year, and there were some ideas that were floating around that Matt had, and they're good ideas, but we ended up wanting to do this again, and maybe because of how positive the reception was, and what a good time it was to do last year. It's a dumb podcast that some people like, that we enjoy doing, and it's fun to do something special every once in a while, and not just another episode on the Dead Ewok or something like that. Like, we put a lot of time into it, Matt mostly, and it's fun to see. It's almost like a challenge, like to see if you can pull it off. And we did it last year, and based on what we've recorded here and what I know will happen in the next few days, I'm really anxious to hear how it comes off again, and I think it'll not only be, as good, but I think it'll be better.
part of me, again, I can be kind of a naysayer and be like, oh, we're not going to do a better job. But I think when the concept was put out there, I think this year's is going to be even bigger, and I have a feeling people will enjoy this one just as much, if not more.
I think for sure almost everyone's going to like this year's at least as much as next year's. I think a lot of people are going to like it better. I don't think there's going to be many, if any, or at least very few that are going to think it's worse than last year's. I think this year's, I really think we managed to outdo ourselves this year.